Can you imagine? They stole $18 billion. That's just what we're learning about. That's peanuts. In California is worse, Illinois is worse, and sadly New York is worse.
The Trump administration freezing all child care funding nationwide after independent journalist Nick Shirley posted a video investigating alleged fraud in Minnesota. There are concerns in Congress that this problem is far more expansive than one state. Let's turn now to House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. Chairman, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to start here. You have asked Governor Walz to appear before your committee. How likely is it for that to happen?
I think it's very likely. We've asked not only Governor Walz, but also Attorney General Ellison, both of whom were in Congress, who I served with in Congress. So they know the rules of Congress. They know how serious this is. This has got the attention of the national public, the media slowly rolling in there, the left-wing media, and starting to cover this. So they will have to show up and defend themselves. If they don't defend themselves, that's going to be an admission to guilt to everyone in Minnesota. So I'm pretty confident they're going to be here. Wednesday, we're going to have our first committee hearing. We're bringing state officials in. They're going to be bringing with them more evidence. The reason we need to present this evidence publicly on a national level is to help the Department of Justice obtain more warrants to go in. We're getting reports that many of these daycares are changing their names and they're having break-ins and mysteriously losing their files and everything else. So we're going to stay on top of this, and Wednesday's going to be the first big day, and hopefully there'll be more arrests coming soon.
Do you expect that he will come in voluntarily, or might you have to force him?
Well, to get a subpoena, you have to invite someone to come in first. A lot of people don't realize that. So we've taken the first steps to issue a subpoena. We've invited him to come into a hearing. We've given him a date to acknowledge receipt of the invitation, which he has, and we expect a confirmation. If we don't get a confirmation in the next few days, then we'll take the next step, and that will be a congressional subpoena.
Okay. The Trump administration is reportedly freezing all money for all states from the Child Care and Development Fund until these states provide more verification about these kinds of programs in the wake of all of this fraud. Alleged fraud. Governor Walz said this is Trump's long game. We've spent years cracking down on fraudsters. It's a serious issue, but this has been his plan all along. He's politicizing the issue to defund programs that help Minnesotans. What is your response to that?
Tim Walz needs to crawl in a hole and hire a bunch of good lawyers and let them answer questions. He doesn't have any moral authority to talk about anything with respect to these government grants. President Trump's doing the right thing. And it's not just these type of grants. You have other pots of federal money that are going into these blue states. Brooke Rollins is leading an effort with some of this SNAP funding, which is also in question in Minnesota. There's also evidence that they've been abusing those federal funds. So you're going to see the Trump administration continue to freeze funds until Democrat governors do like what the Republican governors are doing. They're complying with the federal government, with the Trump administration's request for information. Trump wants to make sure, as do the Republicans in Congress, that this money's going where it's supposed to go. We support government assistance programs to the people who are supposed to get it, not illegals and not fraudsters. The Republican governors are complying with these requests for information, but Democrat governors like my own in Kentucky, Beshear, they're not complying with these requests. So the president doing the right thing, freezing funding so that we can get a handle on this and figure out where all this fraud is going, who initiated it, and hopefully hold some people accountable.
Do you think that they're not cooperating because that would be sort of an admission of guilt, theoretically? I mean, The Hill writes this. The headline is Minnesota fraud scandal poses danger for Democrats in Senate race. In particular, some Democrats think the widespread money laundering scheme, which is estimated to have stolen as much as roughly $9 billion, could be a problem for Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, the second in command to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Does that mean that Walz, even if he wanted to, couldn't heed any calls to resign because that would hamstring Democrats in elections?
Well, look, I don't think Walz has really comprehended the severity of this issue. He's used to the liberal left-wing media defending him. The first few days of this, when those viral videos surfaced, the liberal media did defend him. or they turned a blind eye. Now they realize this is a massive fraud ring in Minnesota. And what I believe we'll find out is this is happening in other states. So I think Tim Walz better lawyer up, and we expect to see him in the House Oversight Committee next month.
All right. Chairman Comer, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.